Hello, so I get asked on a weekly basis on how do I prepare my tyres for club race or a national. So I thought I'd just give you a quick run through of a few little tips I do before I true tyres and after I true them to get the performance I want from them. So when you take a rear tyre, I always just check the gluing before I true it, just check it's a good seal around the edges. I also take a quick look at the rim. You can see on this one there's a few little marks just on side the rim, so before I put it on the arbor I'll take a body reamer and just remove those flashings from the inside of the wheel so it seats properly on the arbor. Then when you put the rear wheel onto your arbor, I use one of these plastic inserts. We call it a spider. It goes inside the wheel, so when you put the nut onto the arbor, it'll put equal pressure onto the rim so you get a true wheel on the tyre truer, so it runs truer, runs straighter. For a front wheel, not really much you can do. I always check that the wheel I'm truing has either got a flange bearing insert or if it's a straight through hole. The only difference that will make is which one of these nuts I'll put on the end to hold the wheel true and straight. So we'll true a front. I've set my tyre truer to the size I wish. Over years of truing tyres I've chosen to use a CRC carbide cutter. There are loads of different ones on the market, but for me that one just gives the best finish. You don't really have to touch it once you've cut the tyre at the end. So we'll force the tyre on. Nut onto the end, very simply. Now on a hoodie tyre true you have a direction, you have diameter and you have rounding. Rounding for doing the edges, so click it down, one step across, close the hatch, and away she goes. Now with a hoodie tyre true, very lucky. I can adjust the speed of the cutter, but I find the slower you can move the cutter, the better the finish. So once you hear it's gone all the way across the tyre, just send it on its way back. And again, I use the carbide cutter because you can basically true the tyre in one cut. Once you've got your tyre down to your chosen size, next thing you have to do is round the edges of the tyre. Now if it's a powder tyre, so it's quite fragile, I tend to use very, very fine sandpaper glued to a stick. But if I was using gas car tyres or something that's more hard wearing, I'd use one of the CRC sanding sticks. They're a lot coarser, a lot more abrasive, but the important part of this process is not to get the tyre too hot and melt it, but it's to give the tyre the profile that you want to race with. So we spin the tyre away from ourselves. If you do let go of the stick, it will fire away and won't come back and hit you. Just start on the side and then just round up and over the edge. Try and keep it as even as you possibly can, but try not to touch the face too much because you don't want to cone the tyre off either way. So inside and outside. Now if you cone the tyre more, the car will drive more rounded, more fluid. If you round the tyres less, car will drive more direct but ultimately have less steering. Once you're happy with that, take it off the tyre truer, and there you go, there's your tyre finish with nice rounded edges. So once you've chewed your tyres and you're happy with the way you've rounded the edges and you're happy with the finish and you're about ready to go racing with your tyres, the last thing I do, I generally do this to all of my tyres, I run a bead of super glue between the rim and the foam. It's not to go up the sidewall, it's not to interfere with the contact patch of the tyre to the carpet. Its sole purpose is just to aid the tyre with a bit more strength to stop it chunking when you go racing. So what I do is, I use Bob Smith Industries glue, but small bead of glue all around the edge of the rim, as carefully as you can. Now you can use brush applicators. I'm afraid I'm a little bit old school. I get my finger and just gently press the glue onto the foam, nice and equally, all the way around. You're not trying to go up the sidewall, as I said, you're just trying to put a nice layer of glue between the rim and the foam. And that for me is then ready to go racing.